Joining me now to talk more about the Greenpeace protest and some of the issues surrounding offshore oil drilling is Mihaela Carstei. She is the Deputy Director for the Energy and Environment Program at the Atlantic Council. And Mihaela, let me start with why are these activists so aggressive in this effort, would you say?
Well, let's first of all think about the history of Greenpeace and the type of protests they usually do around the world. First of all, this is the typical MO for Greenpeace. I'm not surprised that they've taken this path. But when it comes to Arctic drilling, the entire environmental community gets fairly inflamed. The issues surrounding the Arctic are much larger and much more comprehensive than the issues that would, let's say, affect offshore drilling in the Gulf or off the east or west coast.
Okay, so break it down for us. What are the differences?
Okay. First of all, shorter drilling season. Think back at the Deepwater Horizon when we needed immediate response to an accident. The harsh conditions, both temperature as well as the magnitude of storms, just overall, the Arctic Ocean is an unforgiving place where the first responders or even the oil and gas companies that are trying to drill there need much stronger technologies to face those type of conditions. In addition to that, there's a different angle to the whole oil drilling in the Arctic question that the environmental groups are really trying to point out. The fact that we can actually drill in the Arctic right now, the fact that we have a longer drilling season, which lasts from about the end of June till end of September, mid-October, is due to climate change. And we are seeking to drill to extract more fossil resources that will then accelerate climate change.
But let me ask you, because you brought up what happened down in Louisiana, which people are still very top of mind for a lot of folks. Is that what they're using kind of as a leverage to kind of draw attention to this?
Yes, they are using that as a leverage. The other point that they're trying to make is the fact that there are no common set of standards. Currently, the industry is determining the right type of technologies to use, either in the Gulf of Mexico or up in the Arctic. And the Department of the Interior here, Secretary Salazar, last year mentioned that we need a unified federal set of rules and regulations for Arctic drilling. Now, those are applied to the U.S. and to the U.S. Arctic. Think of the larger community up in the Arctic. There's 7 countries involved.
I was going to ask you about that, because if Russia is to go forward, you've got Norway, you've got other countries who probably also have just as much interest in tapping into these resources. So what does it do if they move ahead in terms of basically unleashing the domino effect of more drilling?
Well, first of all, will they move ahead? That's the first question. We have seen that both Shell and Exxon that have partnered with Russian companies to go after the resources in the Russian Arctic have slowed down their operations. They've been slowed down for various reasons. One of those being environmental. A type of gray whale that I'm not quite sure and not very familiar with, apparently was in danger near the Sakhalin island off the coast of Russia. But at the same time, it's an economic question. Is the price of oil high enough for those resources and those investments to have economic value at this point?
And then that leads to the question, what about the economic benefits? What are some of the other benefits? Why are they looking to tap these resources?
I think they're looking strategically. They're trying to position themselves in the Arctic to do the right studies, to identify where the resources are. The USGS has done a broad study, and we know there's about 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and about 30% of the world's undiscovered gas in the Arctic. However, until you drill and until you do the exploration phase, you're not quite sure what's there. And we may not need the oil tomorrow, but I think they're thinking, and obviously I'm not one of the representatives, they are thinking about 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road, or maybe even 15.
So how tough is it to tap this resource there in that area? I mean, you're talking about the complications of the weather and all of that.
The
just
lack
how
of
tough,
infrastructure,
exactly.
The lack of population. Let's just sort of think off the coast of Alaska, because obviously I'm less familiar with what's going on in Russia, but if you're looking at just the U.S., where we're fairly comfortable with our responders, with the Coast Guard, with the knowledge that our oil and gas companies have, think about what happened in 2010 with Deepwater Horizon. There were thousands of people off the Gulf Coast ready to jump in and take any action necessary to mitigate that, the impact of that disaster. Now think up in Alaska off the North Slope. It's 1,000 miles away from Anchorage, and the populations are not even connected by roads. It's all done by small aircraft. Just from that perspective, what if an accident happens at the end of a drilling season? What if it freezes over? Currently, we don't have answers to those questions.
Well, there are a lot more questions to ask, and unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time. Mihaela, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
tonight.
so much for having me.
Appreciate it.